Ranger Thora Pine loved her job at the Redwood National Forest. After 12 years of working there, she knew every trail, stream, and animal family that called the forest home. But nothing could have prepared her for what happened on that cool September morning. She was doing her usual morning check of the trails when she heard crying sounds coming from behind some bushes. As she got closer, she saw a black bear cub, probably no more than 3 months old, sitting alone and making sad noises. "Well, hello there, little one," Thora said softly, keeping her distance. She knew better than to get too close. Where there was a cub, there was usually a protective mother nearby. But after watching for 30 minutes, no mother bear appeared. Thora called her colleague Ranger Zeke Blackwood on the radio. "Zeke, I got a lone bear cub near Maple Creek Trail. Can you come check this out?" Within minutes, Zeke arrived in his Forest Service truck. The cub was still crying and looking around, clearly searching for its mother. "This isn't normal," Zeke said, frowning. "Mother bears don't leave cubs this young alone for so long. Something must have happened to her." They decided to watch and wait another hour, but still no sign of the mother bear. The cub was getting weaker and more upset. "We need to get this little guy to the wildlife center," Thora said. "He won't survive out here alone." Getting a frightened bear cub safely captured wasn't easy, but Thora and Zeke had done this before. Using a special net and transport cage, they carefully caught the cub. He put up quite a fight for such a tiny thing. At the Northern Wildlife Rescue Center, Dr. Luna Ortiz examined the cub. "He's dehydrated and hungry, but otherwise healthy," she said. "I guess he's been alone for at least a day. We need to find out what happened to his mother," Thora said. "Bears don't abandon their cubs without reason." The next morning, Thora and Zeke went back to search the area where they found the cub. They looked for signs of the mother bear, tracks, broken branches, anything that might tell them what happened. After hours of searching, they found something disturbing. Traces of blood on some rocks near a steep hill, along with bear fur caught on branches. Following the trail, they discovered the mother bear's body at the bottom of the ravine. She had likely slipped and fallen while trying to catch fish from the stream above. "Poor mama," Thora said sadly. "At least we found her cub in time." Back at the wildlife center, the orphaned cub was doing better. Dr. Luna had named him Scout because of his curious nature. He was drinking milk from a bottle and getting stronger each day. "The good news is, he's young enough that we can rehabilitate him," Dr. Luna explained. "We'll teach him how to find food and survive in the wild. When he's old enough, we can release him back into the forest." Thora visited Scout every day after her shifts. She watched him grow from a scared, crying cub into a playful bear who loved splashing in his pool and climbing the logs in his enclosure. But one morning, Thora arrived at the center to find everyone in a panic. During the night, someone had broken into the facility. Several cages were open, and animals were missing, including Scout. The security cameras caught 3 men, Dr. Luna said, showing Thora the footage. They took the red fox, 2 raccoons, and Scout. "We think they're animal traffickers who sell exotic pets on the black market." Thora felt sick. She had heard about these illegal pet traders, but never thought they would target their small wildlife center. Scout wasn't just another bear to her. She had watched him overcome losing his mother and learn to trust humans. Now he was in danger again. "I'm not letting them get away with this," Thora said. She called Zeke, and together they contacted the Forest Service law enforcement and local police. The investigation revealed tire tracks leading from the back of the center to an old logging road. The traffickers clearly knew the area well, but so did Thora, and she was determined to find Scout before he disappeared into the illegal pet trade forever. Thora and Zeke spent the next day following leads. They showed Scout's picture to people living near the old logging roads, hoping someone had seen the trafficker's truck. At a small gas station, the owner, Mr. Delroy, remembered seeing a white van late at night. 3 men stopped for gas around midnight. They seemed nervous, and their van was making weird noises, like animals moving around inside. This was a break they needed. The station's cameras caught the van's license plate. Within hours, the police traced it to a rental company in the next town. The van was rented by a man named Pike Reeves, Officer Chin told them. He has a history of illegal animal trading. We're checking properties he's connected to. Meanwhile, Scout and the other animals were locked in small cages in a dark basement. The traffickers planned to sell them at an exotic pet auction in 2 days. Scout was scared and confused. He missed his big enclosure at the Wildlife Center, the fresh air, and especially Thora's daily visits. Pike and his partners weren't kind to the animals. They gave them little food and water, wanting to keep them weak and easier to handle. Scout had never felt so alone, not even when he lost his mother. Back in the forest, Officer Chin got a tip about an empty warehouse Pike sometimes used. It was perfect for hiding animals, far from any houses and easy to reach from the logging roads. Thora, Zeke, and a team of officers surrounded the warehouse that evening. They could hear animals inside. Through a dirty window, Thora spotted Scout's cage. Her heart jumped. He was alive. The police arrested Pike and his partners as they arrived to move the animals. The criminals hadn't expected anyone to find them so quickly. They thought they had covered their tracks well. When Thora opened Scout's cage, he immediately recognized her. Despite being scared and hungry, he let her check him for injuries. The other stolen animals were also alive, though stressed from their ordeal. "You're safe now," Thora whispered to Scout as they drove back to the Wildlife Center. "Those bad men won't hurt you again." Dr. Luna was overjoyed to see the animals returned. She treated them for dehydration and stress, giving them extra attention and care. Scout went back to his favorite pool, splashing around as if nothing had happened. But the experience changed how they ran the Wildlife Center. They installed better security systems and cameras. They also started working with other centers to track animal traffickers and protect vulnerable creatures. Weeks passed, and Scout grew bigger and stronger. He learned to fish in his pool, find berries hidden in logs, and act more like a wild bear. Dr. Luna said he would soon be ready for release. "Are you sure he'll be okay out there?" Thora asked, watching Scout practice digging for roots. "He's shown all the right instincts," Dr. Luna said. "And we'll release him in a safe part of the forest, far from humans but with plenty of food sources." The day of Scout's release came sooner than Thora expected. They chose a remote area of the forest, close to where his mother had lived but far from the dangerous ravine. Other bears lived nearby. They had seen tracks and signs, so Scout wouldn't be completely alone. On release day, they drove Scout deep into the forest in his transport cage. Thora, Zeke, and Dr. Luna wanted to make sure everything went perfectly. This was the moment they had worked toward for months. When they opened the cage door, Scout didn't rush out. He took his time, sniffing the air and looking around. Slowly, he stepped onto the forest floor, his paws touching real dirt for the first time since he was a tiny cub. "Go on, Scout," Thora said softly. "This is your home now." Scout walked a few steps, then turned to look back at them. For a moment, Thora thought he might try to return to the cage. But then he caught a smell on the wind. His nose went up, and his ears perked forward. Without another glance, he wandered into the trees, following his instincts. The team stayed nearby, watching from a safe distance. Scout explored his new territory, digging for grubs and checking out berry bushes just like they had taught him. When he found a small stream, he stood in the water and caught a fish on his first try. "Look at that," Dr. Luna said proudly. "He remembers everything we taught him." They tracked Scout for the next week, making sure he was adapting well to the wild. Each day, he roamed farther from the release site, marking his territory and making his own den under a fallen tree. He even had a friendly encounter with another young bear, which gave them hope he would find his place in the forest bear community. Thora kept checking on Scout through the winter months. She never got too close. They wanted him to stay wild, but she could see signs that he was doing well. His tracks showed healthy movement patterns, and he had clearly found enough food to prepare for hibernation. When spring came, they spotted Scout near his den. He had survived his first winter alone and grown into a strong young bear. He looked healthy and confident, nothing like the scared cub they had rescued. One day, while checking Scout's territory, Thora found something amazing. Scout had found a mate, a female bear about his age. By summer, they saw the pair together often, and later that year, they discovered Scout had become a father to 2 cubs of his own. "It's funny," Thora told Zeke as they watched Scout teaching his cubs to fish in the same stream where they had found him as an orphan. "When we first rescued him, I was so worried he would never learn to be a real wild bear. Now look at him. He's not just surviving, he's thriving." The success of Scout's rehabilitation led to changes in how they helped orphaned animals. The Wildlife Center improved their training programs, teaching young animals the skills they would need in the wild. They also worked harder to protect wild places so released animals would have safe homes. Years passed, and Scout's story became famous in the local community. School groups visited the Wildlife Center to learn about bear rehabilitation, and Thora often told them about the brave little cub who overcame so much to return to the wild. Sometimes, on quiet mornings, Thora would walk past Scout's territory and see him with his family. He was living the life his mother would have wanted for him, free, wild, and happy. She knew then that every hard day, every worry, and every small victory in Scout's journey had been worth it. Scout's legacy lived on through his cubs and the many other animals the Wildlife Center helped. He showed them that with the right care and respect, wild animals could return to their true home in nature. And for Thora, he would always be the special bear who reminded her why she became a ranger in the first place, to help keep the wild places and their animals safe for generations to come.